Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. The special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority held on Thursday, February 25th, 2021 at 11 a.m. here at the Commission Chambers at 340 North 11th Street, Las Vegas, Nevada. Thankful for you all being here. I'd like to turn the time over to Ms. Williams for our attendance roll call and compliance with the Nevada Open Meeting Law.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman, Mr. Scott Black.
Present.
Vice Chair, Ms. Olivia Diaz. Here. Commissioner, Ms. Cheryl Davis. Commissioner, Ms. Sharon Davis.
Here.
Commissioner, Mr. William Mccurdy.
Present.
Commissioner, Mr. Tick Sigerbloom. Do we have Tick? I got you, sir. Commissioner, Mr. Dan Shaw. I got you, sir. A quorum is present, and we are in compliance with Nevada Open Meeting Law.
Thank you so much. If you will all be so kind as to stand and join me in the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. We'll go to item number 2 on our agenda, public comment. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for discussion and possible action today. If you wish to be heard on an agendized item, come to the speaker's podium, clearly state your name and address, and please spell your last name for the record. There will not be an additional opportunity afforded to the public to comment on each agendized item once called. The amount of time any single speaker is allowed will be limited to 3 minutes. If any member of the board wishes to extend the length of a presentation, this will be done by the chair or by board majority vote. I'd like to turn the time over to those individuals that would like to speak on posted agenda items. Would you like to step forward and speak during public comment? On posted agenda items. We'll have a citizen participation at the end for non-posted agenda items. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment and. Yeah, absolutely. If you have something you'd like to speak on regarding the agenda items that are presented for us for board action today, you're welcome to do so now. If you'll please state your name and address.
Hi, Dolores Sawyer, 6260 Viewpoint Drive, Las Vegas, 89156.
Hi, Dolores.
Hi. My name is Dolores Sawyer. As I just said, I was a former director of the Section 8, now known as Housing Choice Voucher Program, here for many years. And I'm here today to remind SNRHA board members of your responsibility to our community. And that is your first responsibility. It starts with holding the executive director and his deputy accountable for their mistreatment of staff. But you must address and acknowledge that the board lacked the oversight in its responsibility to ensure that HUD programs are administered in compliance with regulations and staff are equally held accountable. Each of you should know that the public housing and Section 8 indicators, understand them and how they impact our community. We receive our funding based on how the programs are rated. So of course, if your programs are in trouble, that means we get less funding to serve the low-income population in our community, and especially our seniors. Additionally, I'm also concerned about the inappropriate complaints that I'm hearing. I'm no longer an employee here, so I'm hearing and reading about the inappropriate actions of the ED and staff. I would think as board members you would not want an ED to continue in his capacity if found true about his relationships with staff. I'm also hearing that we have some very interesting scenarios going on with staff and ridiculous raises because somebody wants to buy a house. Not based on their performance, not based on the scale where you get a 5% if you do good or whatever. That the hiring practices, that the compliance with HUD regulations have all went out of the window in the last few years. And that's what happens when you hire someone as a board without experience. That's what happens when the board doesn't understand the indicators. That's what happens when you don't hold your staff accountable. This reminds me of about 10, 15 years ago when the entire agency had the Department of Justice come in. And that's when I started with the agency a year later. My director then was Karen Bennett. And the one thing I'll never forget she told me, is do not believe what staff tells you. Read it for yourself. If you don't understand it, call HUD and get clarification. And I'd like to pass that off to each one of you today. You guys need to, ladies and gentlemen, need to start reading the regulations. Do not take staff's word. I don't know if you guys went through the training so that you could understand what you're supposed to be doing, but I would really encourage it if you haven't, because the mess that has been created is going to take years to clean up. It's not going to happen overnight, and I thank you.
Thank you, Dolores. Any others who would like to speak on posted agenda items for action today? There are 3 items for consideration today. If you have a comment on either one of those, you're welcome to do so now.
Phyllis Carpenter, 5200 Alpine, number 5, 89107. Okay, so you guys know all about the resident councils and how he got up here and read a false statement about the resident councils. Only 2 of them was in good standing with the
Ms.
state.
Carpenter?
No,
Hold
this
on
does
one
have to
second.
do with him
No,
because
hold on a second. The resident council is not on the agenda.
I understand that, but it has to do with him and what he told you guys, and you guys believed him. You guys didn't, when I got up here and said that he lied in that statement, you did nothing about it. You didn't even go and read what the regulations was for the resident councils. If you had, you would have known that he had lied. And Miss Miriam went and appointed a president for the resident council. That's against the regulations. You guys should have read the rules. But you didn't, and I got up here, I don't know how many times, and said it, and nothing had came of it. But, you know, I filed with the Civil Rights Department. I filed, so, and then you guys passed a 5-year just in December with no notification. You guys passed a 5-year, you signed the civil rights paper saying nobody's civil rights was violated, and they was. And that you had no public comment on that 5-year plan. And even if you did, there was only 2 RAD board members that was in good standing with the state. It takes more than 2 people to represent 70,000 of us.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Any others who would like to speak during public comment?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Serena Thomas.
Hi, Serena.
It's SHERRINA, last name Thomas. Never been good with public speaking, but I'm going to give this a try because I've had a good darn time here. So it was shocking to see this on the agenda today, but now I understand exactly why my family has been faced with the trouble that they've been going through. I ported from
Ms. Thomas,
St.
I apologize. Is your comment relative to the
Yes.
3 agenda items?
Yes, it is.
Because we
It's-
do have a citizen participation as well, if you want to talk about non-agenda items.
No, it's in reference to, I guess, work ethic, because I've been trying to reach Mr. Williams about my matter since November, actually. And till this day, I have not received any response from him. I've had communication a little bit with his secretary. But due to the lack of communication between his office or what have you, has caused my family a lot of pain here. Money's lost. It took 7 months. Now, I don't know if I should be discussing this now or should I be discussing it in the latter part. I'm not familiar with this
The
procedure.
particular circumstances that you and your family have faced
Yeah.
would probably, we want to hear, certainly,
Yeah.
but would probably be more appropriate in the citizen participation
Okay.
after the agenda items. If
No
you're,
problem.
if you're willing to stick around, we'd love to hear. from
Sure,
that.
for sure. All
Okay.
right,
Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas.
Mr. Chair, if I might have a moment, I need to acknowledge that Commissioner Ms. Cheryl Davis is present for the meeting. If you could acknowledge your presence, Ms. Davis? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Good morning, Dora Lagrange, 4048 Patterson Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89104. I stand today, first of all, Dolores has already reminded you of your responsibilities. And in those responsibilities, you guys have not overseen the agency the way it should be. You have let a HQS department that was a high performer for 18 years running become a substandard performer. You have you're charging residents $3 to pay their rent at a kiosk. You have landlords who are 5 months, who haven't been paid for 5 months, 3 months. And Scott, you know this to be true because you intervened in a couple of those instances. As commissioners, It is your responsibility, number one, as of 60 days of taking this seat, you were supposed to do the Lead the Way training. That's a HUD mandate. That training will tell you how much responsibility you're supposed to have for the oversight of this agency. You have 40,000 residents and 250 employees, and it doesn't appear that you care anything about them. Because if you did, you would not have let it get to this point. She talked about the indicators. Scott, you and I talked. I sent you the CMAP report. I informed you how important that was, how those 14 indicators were important to the management of the Section 8 department. I sent you the FOS report, how important that was to the management of the public housing department. You can't sit back as commissioners and expect that you're going to leave people to their own volition and the agency is just going to operate on its own. And apparently, that's what has been done. And with this particular executive director, you guys owe every woman in this agency an apology. You really do, because the first time when he was brought on, we had some discussion, and you said everybody deserves a second chance. Well, that was his second chance. And then you gave him a third chance. And maybe, who knows, if this wasn't to the level that it is now, he may even have a fourth chance. That's wrong, and that's not fair. And you set the precedent for what's going on now. Had you gotten rid of him when you were supposed to, this would not be happening. And maybe this agency could be going in the direction that it should. By way of history, every single time elected officials have been at the helm of a housing authority, it has gone to hell in a handbasket, because you guys don't have the time, the energy, nor do you understand the ramifications of taking care and looking out for these residents. With North Las Vegas, Teddy was the lawyer for North Las Vegas. It went to hell in a handbasket. Oscar or the Department of Justice, somebody, the last time elected officials were head of this board, it went to hell in a handbasket. They removed every elected official. And I'm not accusing you guys of anything. I'm saying that you don't understand and you don't have the time to do what it takes to put this agency on the right track and keep it on the right track.
Thank you, Ms. Legrand. Any others who would like to speak? Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Dillard Scott, 1011 North 8th Street. First, let me just preface it with this. This is business, because I have a prior relationship with a lot of you guys. William, this does not apply to you because you were not here. It brings me no pleasure to stand before you guys this morning, but for the last year and a half that I've been here, I have told you that this executive director was inadequate. Not only was he inadequate, but you guys were inadequate and you failed to discipline him the way you should have. You have allowed him to have inappropriate relationships with staff, misuse federal funds that should have been returned. I talked about all of this, and I told you that this was coming. Now, you guys are faced with the situation that you have to deal with. But my question is, you made bad choices in the past. How can we trust you to make a competent decision today on what you're going to do with him going forward? You have an obligation to protect the sanctity of the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority and speak for Southern Nevada's most vulnerable residents. You guys are charged with that. We expect that out of you. As elected officials, you take an oath. Do you guys know what that means? I'm getting these blank looks. People out here are pissed. I stood here for a year and a half, and I've had this conversation with you guys.
See our looks.
No, I can see, I can read eyes.
No. We're listening. I'm listening.
Okay? You guys need to make a decision, and you need to make a competent decision, and it needs to be made, and you need to bring some integrity back to this agency. You are charged with that. And your first thing that you should be doing is getting rid of Teddy Parker, because he advised you incorrectly.
Any other individuals like to speak during public comment? Hey, Mr. Johnson.
That's Dr. John.
Dr. John Johnson.
John Johnson. Once again, like Dillard said, it's not a easy thing to come up here and, talk to some of the people that, are my friends, But at the end of the day, we told you guys about this. Councilman Black, I met you when you were running for city council. We had an interview for a position to work on your campaign outside of Councilman Isaac Barone's office. You personally interviewed me. You know the type of person I am. So when I come and talk and say stuff, you know, I'm not complaining. These are legitimate issues that people are having. Just like with the resident council, there are rules and regulations that you're supposed to follow. It's all written down. You guys are elected officials. You guys know better. It's the same equivalent as your city council. Would you allow your city manager to do this stuff to your city? Why would you allow the executive director to do it to us? Like I said, I am a Section 8 recipient. I received the help because when I filed taxes for this year, I made $27,000. So yes, I don't make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, just because I need help and just because my family may not have more than the next family, I shouldn't be treated less than or shouldn't feel like I'm treated less than. When I'm talking to staff members who tell me that, oh, this is my way, and because I said this is how it is, that's not a recipe for success. And for the same things, for the years that I've been coming here, because I came here with, I forget his name. I came here, you know, when there was a resident that had a complaint. Mr. Neal, Jerry Neal, there you go. And ever since then, I've been coming every meeting. And residents come, and the sad part about it is they come and talk about the same problem. And you don't do nothing about it. That is wrong. And once again, I hope you guys learn an important lesson. Learn from your mistakes, and please do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any other individuals?
Yes, you have to give me time to get up.
Take your time, Ms. Turner.
Oh, no, give me the mic, baby.
There we go. You hand her the microphone, please, Tommy. Thank you, sir.
Beatrice Turner. You know, it took a lot out of me to get up today to come here. And you know, and I'm not the best friend with Dora Lagrange, but what she said was true. Do you know you got residents out there with this rent thing and paying their rent? You know, $3 hurts some people who don't have no money that they got to pay their rent. Right now in Bennett Plaza, nobody has been at their office to even get them signed up or anything for next month when this takes place. And, you know, I believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but there's no more benefit of the doubt for Mr. Williams. It's time that we press on and we find somebody that's qualified to run this agency. Not nobody who come here on the job training. That's out, that's over with. And I mean, this right here, and then y'all had to pay out $17,000 because of what he did. And y'all took it as, oh well. But this, with this rent thing, that needs to be straightened out. And I mean, last month, it should have been straightened out. So that, y'all need to handle that. And you wanna run for mayor? Baby, gonna be a long battle for you, baby. Here you go, honey.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Any other individuals like to speak during this public comment on posted agenda items for action today?
Hello, I am Madeline Rose, current standing resident council president at
Hi, Ms.
Marble
Rose.
Manor. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Last time we spoke about his ethics, we spoke on, and I as well said, you know, I understand everybody, you know, if we were to look in everybody's life and their personal life, we would all have done something that we should not have. And I imparted upon you guys to show mercy and grace. And with that mercy and grace, y'all have abused y'all power in a position that y'all sit in, and y'all yourself do not seem to be adequate to sit in the position that you're in. So therefore, ma'am, We're gonna stay on our lane.
Excuse me, this is a
We're
first
gonna-
time to speak during public comment. There are
Thank
two
you.
times to speak, and each individual gets one
Thank
chance
you.
at the microphone, 3-minute allocation. Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Rose. My apologies
Absolutely,
for
no
that.
problem. But nonetheless, Ms. Diaz, on September the 10th, 2020, I sent a letter, an email to your office, and I said, Ms. Diaz, my name is Madeline, the standing and position resident counsel at Marble Manor. Can I please have a moment of your time? I honestly don't know who to trust at SNRHA. I got a response back from your office, September 11, 2020. Hi, Madeline, thank you for contacting me. Yolanda will be reaching out to you to schedule a time to meet with you as soon as our schedule permits. Olivia Diaz. That was September 11th, 2020. Haven't heard nothing, not a word sent, email, not even a blow of a wind from you. How can we trust you? You just got in these seats, and you already failing us. Mr. Black, you have been here, you walked those streets, and yes, even with Miss Phyllis herself. And as well as we have expressed to you on numerous occasions our concerns. I've sent out emails letting Mr. Williams know about the resources with coming in, partnerships that I had gained outside in my own personal endeavors to bring to resource to help the resident council to establish things for the residents, resources for the residents. And every time y'all talk about y'all have resources for us, y'all don't. And we, in part, reaching out to Mr. Chad Williams. He himself has been involved in stopping and impeding on the progress of partnerships with the city and with, as well as the Las Vegas Golden Knights that we have went forward to, and he has said it for the betterment of them, rather the residents. I have a problem with that you guys say it's okay for people to be in a position they're in and not care about the people that they serve. Understand you are a servant first, and if you cannot serve, you should step down, period. So I greatly appreciate you guys for your time and your efforts, and I really hope that you allow residents, as per federal regulation, to be on the board or to decide who our executive director is going to be. So that we need to be in I know I've inquired information on how we can get that going. A year ago, we had some change, and I've heard nothing, spinning around in circles over and over again. So now I'm imparting and I'm imploring to you, and I hope that the news people are paying attention and capturing all of this. We need to be at the seat, period.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Any others like to speak during public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll go to item number 3 on our agenda today, approval of the agenda with the inclusion of any emergency items and deletion of any items. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Diaz, a second by Commissioner Tick Segerbloom. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, that passes. Thank you. For discussion and possible action, item number 4, discussion and possible action to consider the decision to place Executive Director Chad Williams on administrative leave pending special board meeting and/or for the board to take such action as it deems necessary and/or appropriate. I'll turn the time over to Mr. Teddy Parker, who's joining us via video. Mr. Parker.
Good morning, Chairman Black. Good morning, Commissioners. This agenda item number 4 is being brought to request the board to rescind the placement of Mr. Williams on administrative leave effective February 17, 2021. This request is being made in the abundance of caution related to an open meeting law question. The action would address and set the stage for the remaining agenda items. Therefore, I would request that a motion be made to rescind the placement of Mr. Williams on administrative leave as of February 17, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Are there any comments or discussion items regarding this agenda from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Hold on.
Are there comments?
Did you have a comment?
Did you want to make the motion? Go ahead. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we rescind the placement of Mr. Williams on administrative leave on February 17, 2021.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Diaz, a second by Commissioner McCurdy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any in opposition, please state your name. That motion passes. Thank you. Item number 5, discuss and possible action to consider and determine whether the board should extend, renew, or allow the Executive Director Chad Williams' contract of employment to expire on June 4th, 2021, and/or for the board to take such action as it deems necessary and/or appropriate, and direct legal counsel to notify Mr. Williams of the board's decision. I'd like to turn the time over to Mr. Teddy Parker, who's joining us via video. Mr. Parker.
Again, thank you very much, Chairman Black. Commissioners, pursuant to Article 1 of Mr. Williams' contract of employment, the contract has a 3-year term expiring June 4, 2021. Moreover, pursuant to Article 4 of the contract automatically terminates on June 4, 2021. This agenda item is a request for the board to be proactive in determining the direction the board intends to proceed with regarding Mr. Williams' contract of employment. This agenda item also requests the board's direction to legal counsel to notify Mr. Williams of the board's decision with regards to his contract of employment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Are there any comments or questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman,
What about from the public?
I would move.
Mr. McCurdy?
It seems as though there should not be an extension of the contract at all. And it seems that there also should be a motion made to
Pardon?
there should also be a notification to Mr. Williams that the contract will be terminated.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Parker, did we get all the details in the motion?
I believe that Mr. McCurdy's motion is sufficient. It's my understanding, based upon his motion, that we're going to allow this contract to expire on June 4th, 2021, and that the board is giving me direction to notify Mr. Williams of that decision.
Mr. McCurdy?
The motion is to terminate the contract. So one thing that we will need to have council weigh in on is I guess the pros and cons per the contract as it currently stands, and what that will mean for Mr. Williams, and what that will mean for this agency as far as the legal remedies that will possibly come about from that. So if Mr. Parker could please weigh in on that, that would be helpful.
Mr. Parker, so just for clarity, the agenda item before us contemplates either an extension, a renewal, or an expiration of the existing 3-year contract with Mr. Chad Williams. Mr. Parker, would you like to answer Commissioner McCurdy's question?
Of course. So, Mr. McCurdy, based upon how the agenda item is prepared, termination was not one of the options listed. It was simply to extend, renew, or allow for it to terminate on its own. So it was my understanding, based upon what you initially said, that you were making a motion to have the contract terminate as of June 4, 2021, which is consistent with the agenda item. If we intended to terminate short of June 4, 2021, the board would have the ability to terminate on cause, for cause, or without cause. And so the contract has certain provisions dealing with each form of termination. Would you like me to expand further on those terms, or does that provide enough information for you?
Thank you, Mr. Parker. William McCurdy for the record. That does provide sufficient information for me. So I will actually rescind the motion per what I just heard from Mr. Parker, and what I will do is to move to let the contract terminate on its own June 4th, being that was just laid out to us, and I would like to leave the opportunity for us to actually potentially schedule another meeting if we need to do so to revise that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We have a motion. I'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Oh, sorry. Before we go with the vote, I'm sorry, Commissioner Davis, Cheryl Davis.
Okay. So, Mr. Attorney Parker, as I understand that, I know Commissioner McCurdy was saying that he wants the contract to expire on its own, but from our understanding, because Mr. Williams has violated his contract, I thought we could term him immediately. Can you explain that? For cause. Yes, for cause. Because he has violated HR policies, he has violated his contract.
Mr. Parker.
So Commissioner Davis, the agenda item does not provide for a discussion regarding any potential or alleged violations at this point. What Commissioner McCurdy was saying, which I believe is a correct procedural way of handling it, this motion does not or this agenda item does not preclude the board from later on considering further action. But at this point, the only options are to extend, to renew, or allow for the contract to terminate on its own. The issues that you are alluding to can be raised at a later time if the board would like to take further action.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, Ms. Davis?
Just a little, but I'm still confused because I thought for sure, because when you and I spoke, the term used was termination. That's what you and I discussed on 2 Wednesdays ago, that several of the board members agreed to terminate. And I don't see that listed in here, but you and I discussed that because that's what you told me.
So, Commissioner Davis, without perhaps compromising the attorney-client privilege in terms of the board discussions, what I would suggest to you is that the word terminate, we did discuss terminate because that's the word used in the contract in terms of self-termination. It terminates automatically pursuant to Article 4 of the Contract of Employment. So that is the terminology used in the contract.
Okay.
So basically, the agenda item contemplates, once again, the contract requires a 30-day notice of the board's intent to renew or not renew. And this is in advance of that 30-day window, so we're contemplating here in advance of that 30-day contractual obligation, even though it's more closer to 100 days, whether the contract should be extended, renewed, or allowed to terminate on its own per the original terms of the 3-year agreement ending on June 4th, 2021. And we have a motion by Commissioner Mccurdy in indicating that it would term out on its own on June 4th, 2021, and I made a second. If there are no further comments, we'll go ahead and ask for a vote.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
That's everyone on, and any in opposition? Any abstentions? That passes, thank you. Item number 6, discussion and possible action to consider and determine all options related to the Executive Director Chad Williams' employment, including but not limited to the appropriate administrative action, including but not limited to administrative leave and/or for the board to take such action as it deems necessary and/or appropriate. I'll turn the time over to Mr. Teddy Parker, his legal counsel, coming to us via video. Mr. Parker, thank you, sir.
Chairman Black, in furtherance of the board's intention of being proactive, it is requested that the board decide the current executive director's role from today through June 4th, 2021. This decision would give the board the opportunity to plot the course and direction of the agency in the interim. And that's why this agenda item is being brought forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parker. Any comments or questions for Mr. Parker regarding this agenda item from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion if you're ready.
Hold on one second, Mr. Segerblum. Do you have any comments or questions, those that are on the video or here in the room? Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Segerblum.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we put Mr. Parker on administrative leave effective today.
Not Mr. Parker.
You said Mr. Parker.
Parker too. Mr. Williams, sorry.
Mr. Williams.
And through the end of his contract, and that we direct Mr. Parker to inform Mr. Williams of that decision.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion regarding the motion that's before us? If there's no discussion, I'll ask for a vote.
What happened to the public
Aye.
being able to say something?
Aye?
He said he wasn't gonna do it at the beginning.
How about you gentlemen on the video? What's your vote? Aye?